Born to Achieve. Born to Achieve. Welcome to Born to Achieve podcast, the show that inspires and motivates you to unlock your full potential and achieve your goals. With your host, Warren Andrew Pinder. Let's get started on this week's episode of Born to Achieve. Born to Achieve.
I am born to achieve, and so are you. Welcome back to another episode of the Born to Achieve podcast. With me are my co-hosts, Mr. Delano L.D. Archer and Dr. Cheyenne Williams, to bring to you another provocative and interesting podcast. Today we'll be speaking about mistakes and being able to identify, own, and make an effort to change those mistakes. So we have with us now, LD's gonna take his go at explaining and bringing on what he's talked about, because the mistakes that you are interested in letting us know.
Okay, my go.
Your go.
Okay, so I re-listened to a lot of podcasts, and we wing these podcasts. And when you wing something, obviously mistakes are gonna happen. And there's some mistakes that I would have made intentionally or unintentionally. And I just thought it would be good to do an exercise here as a review to show how you need to identify mistakes, right? Identify your mistake. And I would have done that by going over that material. It's just similar to you going over an exam and you got some exam questions wrong, right? Then you got to own that. You can't say you didn't get it wrong. It was wrong, right? So you have to own your mistakes, and then you have to make corrections to it, okay? And this is an example of what I talked about, turning negatives into positives, all right? So one of the first mistakes, well, there are a couple of mistakes I made. I'm only going to probably address 4 today. But when we talked about the universe and science, I made a statement. I said that space was always there and God evolved out of space. Now, I don't have no facts on that. And that may have offended a lot of people. What I should have said was, I think God may have evolved out of space, right? Now, the religious world don't believe that because they believe there was God and then space. But what was it? Was it God first, space then God? And this is where I talk about when science and religion buck heads. They always buck heads on these type of topics. But it's all mythical. There's no facts there to prove any of it. And at the end of the day, you don't need to worry about that. You really need to worry about getting along with one another, okay? But I made a mistake, and I'm not justifying it, and I'm now trying to correct it. Good? So that would have been one of the first ones.
So you were saying that you right now in dealing with correcting the mistake, right? That you come here, and your mouth was hot, right? You was, because some people out there probably really disagreed with you, right?
Yes, I know that.
But you manning up right now.
Yes.
You manning up right now, right?
Right.
They say, look here, I make that mistake.
Yeah.
Now you sure what you say is correct?
Right. Well, you see, you have to make your adjustment to that mistake the best way you know how.
In life, how you translate it in life. That's what I get at. You translate that, LD.
Well, when you do things in life and you make mistakes, right? You have to try your best, again, to identify it, own up to it, and then make a correction. Okay, here's an example. It's a real example. If you're in a relationship and you and that person have an argument, good, and you realize you was wrong, now, what should you be doing? You realize that you identify that now. Good. Now, the thing here is to own up to it. Because that's where the problem come in. Because you go point your finger at the partner.
But boy, hold on, let me stop. Dr. Williams, I got to bring you in here, right? Because you asking the people to own up to some things. You know that I could never happen.
And certainly, Men, especially with their ego, I would say that they do not like to admit when they are wrong.
Right.
They do not like to admit when they are wrong. There are some women the same way, but that is how problems occur in the relationship. That is where we have the fact of not being able to get along, because I am angry that you wouldn't see your wrong. You would not accept it as your wrong. So therefore, I'm not going to be bothered by you, with you. You know, I call it quits, or I just stay in my corner because I am tired of you getting away with your version or your illusion of being right all the time. And we have persons like that. They will never ever admit when they are wrong. In a relationship, that is why the relationship cannot grow. The relationship always shaky, and the relationship ending up with the two persons separating. And it's simply because the one partner can never accept that I did it wrong, I am sorry. But not only with that, because apology without change is manipulation. So you could say sorry, but really and truly you're not sorry, because in your heart you still feel as though you did the right thing and you are not wrong. So that is another thing that happens as it relates to persons not accepting wrong, especially in relationships where we expect to be growing. Growth can never occur because we're not owning up to what we do or did. And you take the partner for crazy, or just one that you could just push down something down their throat to say accept it and let's move on. So this is where we have issues, and nobody wants to correct their problems.
But some people really, really believe that they ain't make no mistake. But if you point at some people, right, you can't tell them they're wrong, even though they know they're wrong.
But see, that's the whole purpose of what we're saying right now, what we're doing here, okay? Because like Dr. Williams said, that is a very destructive agent in a marriage.
Yeah.
Or a relationship.
Right.
And I told you, when you're in a marriage, you ain't supposed to go to bed, my daughter's supposed to reconcile before you go to sleep.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Okay? And that's all about correcting the mistake.
But you know where this has played a real serious, right, and destructive role in the workforce. Because persons who you don't really know beyond that of your colleague in a workplace, right, they're making mistakes and you trying to correct them, they can't see it. So all this really transcends into daily life.
Right.
But now, once, as you said, the next step would have been, after identifying it, owning up to it. Who can own up to a mistake, especially if it's something related to your job or
Persons do not own up to it, and a lot of times they wouldn't own up to it because really and truly they don't see themselves as being a person in the wrong.
Right.
So it goes right back to identifying. Nobody wants to identify or acknowledge that, hey, I did this wrong. So some people would never reach to the next step of owning up to it. Mm-hmm. That is the big problem.
And then mistakes happen again, and it gets compound, and then you end up in a mess. So
you end up being a very destructive person. Why I say that? Because there is no way on earth you're going to be perfect.
Right.
So if you can never accept your wrongs, you will never accept your wrongs. You'll never own up to them. You don't want to acknowledge them. You feel as though you're never wrong. You have a serious problem. Then I feel like mentally, that person, eventually, they'll need some serious help.
Right.
Because if they feel they're always right with everything, nobody can tell them nothing at that point. Nobody is able to speak anything other than what they believe to them at that point. So you are a whole character that's self-destructive. You're not going to move forward. You're not going to grow. You're just going to be there, and then you're going to start getting angry because if this one don't agree with you, you have a problem because you're identifying yourself as always right. You have the right answer. I know several persons that with this attitude, and they accept their mistakes as right, and they start believing in their wrongs. So in their eyes, their wrongs is right.
Yeah, that dangerous. That dangerous
Very.
when you get to that point. That dangerous.
Very.
Ellie, you give me something there about you need to explain this.
Okay, so
what I have in my eye, would you just pass to me?
Yeah, so this is another mistake I made. So read that one with chapter 20. I'll read the next one.
The one with chapter 20, the book of Enoch mentions 7 holy angels who watched that often are considered the 7 archangels. Right? You want me to call their names?
Yes, you could call
Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Cyril, Rachel, and Ramiel.
Right.
The life of Adam and Eve lists the archangels as well. Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, and Joel.
Okay, so before I read my section, it's important for us to understand that a lot of these stories are mythical. And people read the Bible again literally, but there are a lot of mythical stories and verses in the Bible. Okay, that's important. Now, again, the information is there. All you need to do is go and research it.
So you're telling us that
No.
what's the mistake that you made?
I'll tell you now. So then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. And the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon, who was the devil, was hurled down. The ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the world astray. He was hurled to the earth and his angels with him. Now here's the mistake I made. When I talked about the fallen angels, and it was slippery wrong, I know better, because I know Michael was an archangel.
You was what? You come. I remember when you was talking about this.
So I said, Lucifer and Michael, that is dead wrong.
Yeah.
That's so wrong. I don't know. How come nobody called? And he don't call you to correct that?
No, I didn't know what.
Man, I need to get a whip and crucified for that.
Yeah.
Because Michael was God's greatest angel.
Right.
Okay? He was the greatest one. And that's why he was called an archangel.
Right.
All right? So that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Now, I identified it.
Yeah.
I've owned up to it.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to correct it.
You corrected it.
Right.
And so, here's what I talk about, turning a negative into what?
Into a positive.
Into a positive.
Right.
And see, that should be a goal at the end of the day.
For everybody.
For everything.
So by actually identifying the mistakes, what you're saying, by identifying the mistakes
Right.
and owning up to it,
Right.
it creates and lends for better communication
Right.
and purpose.
Right.
And even identifying allows people to help you. For example, if a child has a problem with stealing, moving things that does not belong to them, and say they're caught stealing, they're taken into the police station, they're asked if they stole it, they say no. But we have you on camera. That wasn't me. But here, this you right here. Okay, that was me. They admit to it. They own up to it. So we're going to give them the opportunity to correct themselves. You apologize to the owner. You apologize. You take some kind of classes whereas you're taught to be honest. You make the correction. You promise never to do it again. And you allow persons to help you to correct that problem. But if you're a child living in denial, saying, I didn't do it, I don't care what, I didn't do it, I didn't steal it, I did not, that problem will never be corrected. So therefore, as that child grows and days go on, they will continue to steal because they got away with it the first time, and they will continue, but they will get better at it. Whereas, oh my gosh, a camera may be watching this time. Let me conceal my face this time. Let me change the clothes I'm wearing, and in case they catch me on camera, I would not be in the same clothes. So until that problem is corrected, the problem with that child will continue to evolve. And the more they do it, the better they get at it, and the problem becomes more and more serious.
Right.
So right there and there, that's a great example for parents to know as it relates to your children. When you see a child acting out or doing some things out of the ordinary, you help them identify that problem. Look here, you have this problem. Now you need to own up to this problem and let's find a way to correct it. Or else you will have a child with the problem, then you will have a teenager with this problem, then you will have an adult with this problem. And it gets worse and worse as they grow older. And then you will have an incarcerated, God forbid, person because they never was corrected from that problem started. They didn't want to own up to the mistakes. They didn't want to acknowledge it, and they didn't make any effort to correct it.
Boy, but that they're serious, that right? Because guess what's gonna happen, right? If you start doing that, you go down the wrong path, right? And you, God forbid, you are incarcerated.
Right.
You're toward the opposite of that. Don't own up to it because the lawyers and the courts tell you don't own up to it. That's the irony. You know what I mean? They tell you don't own up to it.
Yes.
Don't plead guilty.
Right.
Right? So you trying, but basically from everything what you're saying right now is character building.
Yeah.
From the onset.
Right.
Yep.
To avoid you from going there. Once you take possession of that which you did wrong, bro, that's powerful that you're on the right track. But when you got someone around you who tell you, don't say that, but you get around the wrong people.
Leave it to me.
Leave it to me. You don't say that, but now you got a lawyer who sitting down there who on the clock hourly.
Yeah.
He tell you just don't do that. They can manipulate the court and do whatever they got to do.
Yeah.
And you get it like you say, Dr. Williams. You get away at once, you can continue.
You continue, and it'll get worse as time goes on. The more you do it, the more you get away with it. The better at it you'll get.
Yes.
And then God forbid you end up in prison. Whereas you meet somebody whose skills just a little better than yours.
Yeah.
So we could enhance your skills. So when you come out, you definitely will be better at what it is you came in for. So chances of being caught will be less for you because you're better.
Right.
It wasn't corrected.
Right.
It was enhanced.
Right.
So that's where the issues come.
Thank you for joining today's podcast. We'll be right back.
Achieve Man, written by Warren Andrew Pinder and Dominique Bradford. This book passionately focuses on the challenges women have been made to go through and how to overcome them. In some cultures, being a woman disadvantages the girl child. This book carefully exposes the hurdles you might face. This masterpiece is the ultimate self-help guide for women. It reveals your true purpose and identity. Get your copy today. Available from Amazon.
We now return to today's podcast.
But some people, Ellie, some people who right now, right? There's some people who probably listening to us, and they could really learn. They could really learn from what you said. It's interesting that, this may sound vague, but I commend you in the fact that, hey, teaching a person to own up to their mistakes,
Right.
that may sound like that ain't light.
Yeah.
You had to go thinking deep for that because I know many persons who would want to teach someone that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many persons actually 99% take ownership for their mistakes.
But you see, there's a point in your life where you have to take control of pride and ego. Okay?
You laughed at Why you laugh? Why you laugh, dog?
Yeah. Now, most people's egos are bigger than their head.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
And they cannot control it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that limits them the ability to do things like this. Because they can feel bad, or they say, well, I ain't gonna say that. I ain't telling her I'm wrong.
You think it's shame, dog?
I
think it's shame.
It would be shameful, but if you really look at it, it makes you it puts you in a better position. You would be more respected if you could admit and own up to the mistakes that you made. Especially if, say, relationship, a woman would feel really good for a man to say, listen, I'm sorry. I know I did this. I knew this was wrong. I apologize. Please allow me to make it up to you. But not only make it up, correct that behavior and don't make that mistake again.
Right.
Try to stay far from it happening again. You get a woman to love you and respect you even more.
That girl is 2 to 1 here now, right? And I know you're strong at that point, right? But you really want a man come you all behaving woman and tell you all some things and you try to say a woman to respect you really.
I think that it will get 2 to 1. 2 to 1. If it's something that you did, if it's a woman, if you all have a good relationship, she already knows that it's something. She may not be able to say exactly what it is. She knows it's something, but she is waiting for you to say something, because God forbid, if she finds out on her own without you coming forward, it would put you in a worse position rather than you coming in and saying, listen, I made a mistake, X, Y, Z, and how could we move forward? It may take a while, but you gain more trust from her because you were the one to come there with it.
Yeah. You talked last week, but putting a glass together, right? Some days you go to woman, right?
Yeah, I agree.
You only find one piece of the glass ain't never get put together.
But it's something you would have to sit and think deep about, because you have to think, what if she finds this out on her own?
Right.
Rather versus me coming and telling her I'm sorry, showing her I'm sorry, meaning from my heart, that I am sorry. But I know for a fact if she has to find out on her own, it's going to be worse.
That's the right thing to do. And then,
but you see, she said something last week. I mean, when we had our podcast, I think this may be, and you could correct me, Doctor, the root cause of the problem. She talked about dating, right?
Right.
And dating is very important.
Right.
It might take 5 years,
right?
But you got to get to know that person,
yes.
Right? And so if she likes to stay home and you like to go out, but y'all gonna have a problem. I tell you that right now. That's a big problem. Okay. Now y'all can come to some medium ground with that before you get married. You will be in trouble because that can flare up everything in the house. Because she can be upset with everything you do. Because you ain't never home.
But what if you can't? What if you strike the balance? If she like to go to the movies, right, and you like to go to the club. If you go to the movies two times a week, or let you go to the club 2 times a week.
See, the problem is we don't like to have conversations. You have to have these conversations. You just can't watch and say, "Oh, she like to go to the movies, so I can take her out."
That's why. Dating is important. Right. You have to dating is the dialogue between the two persons. Right. For however long you have to do it to get to know exactly what that person like, what they dislike, how you can get what it is that you can compromise, what you can't compromise, what you're willing to accept. Once you find these things out, you need to make the conscious decision to say, okay, I think this will work, or you know what, I don't think this will work. Or let's date some more to see how best we can come together and come to some agreement as it relates to us moving forward with taking the next step into having a relationship. But dating is necessary. Dating is necessary. You know for a fact that if you meet someone in a club, you meet them in the club. and you all start a relationship the next day, and then you tell her or you tell him, where you going? How you going to the club? Where you going to club? You have to stay home with me. It's like problems. So you meet me in the club now. You want to stop me from going to the club? I never told you I was stopping the club because we in relationship now. Yeah. So right there, that's chaos.
Right. So, you preach it to the choir, right? I wish you to tell us that you preach it to the choir,
right? Yeah, that's why I always express it. You have to date. Don't rush to commit.
Yeah.
Don't rush to commit because the relationship won't last.
Right. But now that we've spoken of identifying the mistakes that we've made, we've said that look here, we take ownership of it, right? We now got to make the effort to correct it,
right?
And that's where.
Well, that's where
you go, LD.
Yeah, but see, that's what she addressed. That's where you go and you make amends with that person who you had that problem with.
Yeah.
Okay? But see, you can't mentally do this just in your head.
Yeah.
Right? You see why I was wrong. But you ain't say nothing to the other person to make the correction.
Yeah.
All right? So now you own up there.
The apology, and that sincere apology.
Now, hold on now. See, apology, tricky boy. That's a tricky thing. Because when you apologize and for something, that means you ain't going to do it again. You see, you can't apologize and keep doing the same thing and coming back with apology again. Because guess what can happen? It can go two ways. The man or the woman, they can get tired of you after a while. They say, man, these apologies don't mean nothing. What they are up to.
Mm-hmm.
Now for a commercial break.
Achieve Men, written by Warren Andrew Pinder. In this book, you will learn the 7 steps to achieving your dreams and goals. Given the vision to share how the acronym of the word achieve can be used systematically in your day-to-day life. Each of us is given a unique gift from God. Get your copy today. Available in print, ebook, and audiobook from Amazon.
We now return to today's podcast.
Because the behavior doesn't change.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
See, the behavior have to change.
Has to.
Right.
And I had an old boss who told me this. He said, in life, you have to learn how to make the mental adjustment. If you can't make that mental adjustment, boy, you can be in trouble. All right?
Apology, like I said, apology after apology without change behavior is manipulation. You're just manipulating the person.
Yeah.
So that is why we have relationships again fail, because you keep saying, I'm sorry. You did this, I'm sorry. I ain't gonna do it again. I'm not gonna do it again. I'm not going to do it again. But after a while, you sorry, but that person is saying, you know what? I'm just gonna start expecting it. And then the more they expect it, the farther they take. That you push them away from you. You'd start feeling the distance because they get tired of being manipulated. Sense, they have to catch sense sometime.
Yeah.
So when they don't catch sense and they realize, hey, he's saying he's identifying this problem. He's taking ownership of it, but he's not correcting it. So does it make sense? It doesn't make sense. So therefore, I have to move myself out of the situation because I already see that it's a pattern and it keeps going on and going on and going on. So it's not going to stop.
You know, that sounds like to me. People use an apology for excuses.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like to me. Like you say, like y'all my buzzwords, help me make it make sense. Because that don't make sense if you don't learn from the mistake.
Right.
If you don't learn from the mistake, we're talking about this. It's interesting that we're talking about mistakes. But the important thing is to learn from the mistakes you made. Yeah. Sometimes you get abused, you get bruised, you fall down, but you got to pick yourself up,
right,
and do exactly what you just said. Own up to it.
You own up to it.
Right.
Right.
The only way you're going to own up to it is if you see it as a mistake.
Right.
Some people make mistakes over and over and over again. Some I feel intentionally, but they don't own up to it or see it as a mistake. So therefore, in their head, nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong.
That's real. But Nelia, I glad we really talking about this because I'm sure persons are listening out there. Mm-hmm. Persons who have made mistakes and dangerous mistakes, mm-hmm. and they realize that they're in a quagmire right now and don't know what to do.
Right.
And but how simple is it just to own up to it?
Own up to it and correct it, and guess what? Move forward. Right.
Like you always say, but don't ask me what yesterday because sometimes I didn't forget that. Maybe you didn't fight, but I didn't forget that. What you talking about? I argue with you.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't forget that.
That over.
So you got to own up to it. Yeah. This has been extremely good, and because like he said, as we said, the doctor, you preach it to the prize. Some things that you said, right, for men especially, men have to listen at times to what the wisdom of a woman, the discernment, like they say, you know, they have a discernment. My wife always says to me, I have a discernment that female intuition
mm-hmm.
can speak to these things, though, because we just BSing ourselves,
right?
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, at least that's what it really boils down to, you know, where we are, because until we come to that epiphany moment. Mm-hmm. Then we just really fooling ourselves along the way, and this has been extremely helpful. It's been extremely helpful. Man.
I got 2 more low-level mistakes I made.
What's that?
Because I had 4.
You want me to build one? You want me to build one confession? You want me to build one confession book?
No, this is just examples.
Yeah.
You see, because I want the audience to understand what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. Especially that they can speak to the young, tell them talk to their children or someone that they know really going to own up.
Right. So I'm an adult.
Yeah.
A grown adult. Very educated.
Right.
Okay. But I use sometimes, I said, I use the word punk, and I use the word sissy.
Right.
I shouldn't be saying that.
Right.
To me, that was a mistake.
Right.
I should find a better way to make that expression.
Right.
Okay. Again, identify your mistakes. Own up to them.
Well, you're a man of deliberate character, because you could switch. That's commendable.
Only me could be me.
Well, you have the last word today. Dr. Williams.
While we touch on with children, a lot of men, men with the ego and not apologizing, they don't see mistakes more than the women, especially when it comes to the children. I want to encourage men, fathers, that have rocky relationships with their children, that say things, that do things to children that they know was wrong. Mm-hmm. It is okay to apologize to your children, especially as men with female children, with daughters. It is so important that you make these young ladies feel comfortable, because really and truly, you are the first man that they know that they share love relationship with. So we all make mistakes, and I know for a fact God didn't make a mistake when he said honor your parents, honor your father and your mother, and he came right along and said parents, don't provoke your children. So fathers, especially to you all, because you always have a hard time apologizing to your children, please make a special effort to keep a relationship with your children, especially if they are girl children. Boys too, but girls need their fathers. If you offend, if you do anything that causes your daughter heartache, because you do that sometimes, if you cause them bad, ill feelings, if you cause them to feel unwanted, any type of negative feeling that you would have provoked, it will not kill you to apologize to your children. You need to do that, because at the end of the day, they will always be your children regardless of age. Regardless of age, the effect that you can have on your child really, really can make or break them. So we want to encourage fathers to speak life. And if you make a mistake with your children, do what's best for the both of you and apologize, identify it, own up to it, and correct it. Because guess what? Mental illness does not stop with age. Yes, they're over 18. In some cases, they would have, become an adult. But the fact that you leave without making the correction to your mistake can go a far way. So I encourage fathers, in some cases mothers, but I know of a lot of cases with fathers, please, you're not always right. Listen to your children sometimes and do the honorable thing, apologize and move forward. That's my 10 cents.
Men, you've heard that appeal from Dr. Williams, and Ellie, yeah. I commend you. I honestly commend you, because trust me, some persons can learn. All right, and that's what we're all about, talking now. But it's been another great episode of the Born to Achieve podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Born to Achieve. Born to Achieve. We hope you found it informative, inspiring, and motivating. Born to Achieve. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and family. Stay focused on your goals, and we'll see you on the next episode of Born to Achieve. Born to Achieve. Born to Achieve.